At some point in the digital age of boss babes, new money, and ambitious rookies, we stopped consulting our village's wisest. Women have been the heartbeat of the world within their respective communities, workforces, and families since the dawn of time. They are the magic makers, the peacemakers, and the ass kickers. Let's celebrate them with the Matriarchy Party.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Matriarchy Party. This is your host, Courtney Worth. I've never said my name before. That's funny, but hello. This is Party of One here. This work week for me looked like prepping for my New York trip, packing for fall. What a delight. It's been in the 90s in Phoenix today, so it really feels that today and this week, it feels like, oh, sweater weather. How exciting. Drink a warm beverage. It was a really nice week because I got some quality time with my sister Alex. Her twin is on a trip to Peru, so it's rare that we get as much one-on-one time. And we went to the screening of My Old Ass, which is officially out today. It'll have been out by the time you hear this. But you guys, I cannot recommend this movie enough. It was perfect. I laughed nonstop. I cried. And it was an hour. It was an hour and a half. I mean, that's perfection for me. I love Aubrey Plaza. And now I'm a Maisie Stella fan. You may or know her from Nashville. But I didn't watch that. But maybe I should now because she's so great and funny. It was directed by Megan Park. She's a Canadian actor and director and also directed The Fallout that came out in 2021, if you saw that. But I feel like I've seen a movie a week this month and I guess wouldn't have it any other way. That's very on brand. I should do more of those months. But I also made some friendship bracelets. So here's your reminder. Am I wearing one? No. Here you go for those watching on YouTube. Be here now is what it says. Good for my ADHD brain. But there's your reminder to do something with your hands away from a screen for a few minutes. So, well, let's get into what you're here for. Today, joining us at the party is my friend, Jilly Gray. We met in London on my first job for my own company years ago when she was doing marketing for Amazon Prime Video. One dinner together at Dishoom, laughing and talking later, and I instantly hit that follow button on Instagram, and we've been long-distance friends ever since. She has since moved to LA, New York before that, and she's a VP content marketing at an entertainment company there, heading up production and social. Jilly lives with her husband and two cats, Ted and Daisy, in Santa Monica. And in contrast to her high-power marketing gig in the music world, she loves the outdoors, like hiking, lots of yoga, and has recently found herself obsessed with paddle tennis. She also goes to a lot of shows, loves travel and wine. And I mean, what did I just say about finding hobbies? Jilly has many of them. And Jilly, let's hang out. You have such a fun and active life. A beautiful inspiration that we could all take a page from your book there. But Jilly, welcome to the party.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Great to see you.
And you all get to enjoy Jilly's fabulous accent because I wish I had one and hailing from the UK. And I told her I was wearing my Princess Diana shirt.
Love.
It's just, an honor. My favorite Brit, I guess, besides Jilly. So how are you? How's your week going?
Yeah, pretty good. It's gone very fast this week. I can't believe it's already Friday, but that tends to be most weeks. Yeah, really looking forward to chilling out a bit this weekend, hopefully.
Yes. Chilling out and having a million outdoor activities planned or like laying on the couch and binge watching TV? Or both?
Definitely both. I've actually just finished watching The Perfect Couple on Netflix, which I loved. So yeah, I need to get into the next thing now. I've also just watched like the entire, I don't know, whatever we're on season of Love Island and like the English version.
Ooh.
And I've actually never watched, I must be the only British person in the world that's not watched Love Island from the start. So yeah, I kind of like didn't know what to do with myself after finishing that.
You're like, now what? I need a new big epic show. I have never watched Love Island. I can't believe it. And so many friends love it. I feel like I need to just make the time and prioritize that.
Yeah, you 100% do. It's like one of those shows where it just really switches my mind off after like a hectic day at work.
Yeah.
So I'm quite a big believer of like, I do like way too many activities and sports and stuff, but then I also just watch like the worst like trashy TV and it just completely like, takes my mind out. So I do need a bit of that in my life.
Oh, 100%. I agree. I think I mean, you're doing strategy all day, every day and chiming in on such big plans and ideating and marketing. You're just like using your creative brain all day. So I feel similarly, I too just want to watch something I've already seen or just watch the worst trash or reality TV that's just like low stakes. I'm not stressed about it. And I can just, I mean, and many times you're like, wow, I have got it so good. And it leaves you feeling so good in that way. But that's something that I need to watch. I was like big on Love is Blind. And then we just watched, what came after that? Another Netflix similar one that I'm like, feels like Love Island is the next on the docket there. But
yeah, and I've also actually just got into like I do quite like a true crime type of podcast or like investigation. And I've it's kind of new for me as a Brit, like actually driving to work. Because I've just London and got the tube, or New York and got the subway. So I have all this time in the car. And so I've started listening to podcasts. Like there's one called Sweet Bobby that I'm into at the moment. And it's it's like a kind of wild story about catfishing. And it just really makes the drive go so quickly, and I'm so engrossed in it.
Oh.
So yeah, that was kind of a newer thing for me as well.
I miss that podcast time because living in LA, you're used to probably like 30 minutes on the train where you can be doing other things. And then now you're like, I have to pay attention for an hour and a half to get across town or something. But I guess you don't live too far from your office, but still not used to driving. Yeah.
And it's like literally I can't work, which is great. I just have to like listen to something fun. So yeah, it's a good time for me actually.
Well, let's talk about matriarchs. We're going to talk about you first. But when we think of a matriarch, we think of a woman who's the head of their family, tribe, or organization. When in your life have you felt like you had to demonstrate those traits, whether by necessity or not?
Yeah, okay. So I think definitely when I was at school, I was like the captain of some sports teams. So I was like captain of hockey and I think netball at some point. So I think I've always been quite sort of like a positive person and a cheerleader of sorts. And now I have quite a big team of people at work. So there's about 30 people on my team. So I try and just really be a good leader and be really positive and upbeat all the time, because I think, work can be a bit stressful sometimes, and we work with like kind of a very like high volume of work and projects all the time. So I try and be a kind of like positive leader to everyone on the team. And I have a sort of mantra, I guess, which is maybe a bit woo-woo in LA, but I really believe in this, and I sort of tell myself this every day: to be brave, be kind, and be calm. And I kind of repeat that to myself most days, and it really just grounds me and helps me remember that even if I need to have sort of difficult conversations with my team, always to do it with kindness. And you do have to be quite brave sometimes in business to kind of have those sort of difficult conversations and kind of move on.
Totally. I love that because I think it's all such an inside job, and whatever you're telling yourself is what you're living, breathing, doing, ruminating more of. And so, yeah, why not have a mantra? And that kind of encompasses the kind of person we should all strive to be. I think I was just, what did I read the other day? It was saying you can be angry but not mean, or you can be like upset or frustrated. And I was like, that's really like, and I'm not a mean person, but I was like, oh, that is so true. Like you're allowed to like feel whatever you're feeling, but like there's two ways to get what you need to get in business or in relationships. And you can lead with kindness and still, I don't know, make your point. Be firm and brave and bold and still lead with kindness, and everybody would have a lot less work trauma.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I just think it's sort of, that's what I try and instill with everyone on my team, is that you do have to have like hard conversations sometimes, and it's always amongst like the most fun stuff that we're working on. But it's something that I think that also when I was kind of like coming up in this industry, I found that like women especially like struggle sometimes to have those like difficult one-to-one conversations.
Yeah.
And so I've, been lucky enough to have like a lot of like great female leaders in my growth in my career. And I think that's something that I've always like respected a lot about those women, that, they're able to just kind of like face issues head on, like not beat about the bush, and actually kind of like talk about it in a strong way.
Yeah. It means so much. And I don't think everybody has that example of what like being a strong leader, but also being very clear and direct and not like worrying about your feelings, but also like relaying it in a way that is respectful and kind. And that makes such a difference because a lot of people, I mean, without a great mentor of leadership, people, how would anybody know how to be in charge of people? It is so hard being a manager. So,
Yeah.
and nobody on your team is going to grow if you're not choosing your language wisely or like giving actionable feedback or like checking in. I mean, everybody's going through things personally, but it's hard to give feedback because you want to be liked and you want to not hurt anybody's feelings or their ego. And then it's hard to receive it because nobody wants to be criticized, but you're like, both of us want to grow and we want to have a bigger, better team and project and better results. But that's such a hard thing to master. So it's no surprise.
I think, yeah. And like something else I think I've had to sort of find a bit of peace in is that being liked and being respected are not always the same thing. And I think that, you know, when I was a bit younger, I was kind of quite a people pleaser and like it was important to me that everyone liked me and we were all friends and we got on.
Yeah.
I think I've sort of learned to separate that a bit, I guess, like with career and personal life.
Totally.
And I am such a mess, to be honest, in my own personal life. I'm definitely not the one that's like the leader of the group and like organizing everything and kind of like take a back seat to other people in the group to do that now. But I think that I definitely use all of that energy in the workplace and then kind of, let someone else run the show outside of work.
Well, you need to take a break. You can't be running everything all the time. You'll run yourself ragged. So you're like, somebody else can plan dinner and coordinate that. Like I have tied up all the loose ends and working on with big public figures and high profile. There's a lot at stake in what you do. But that is like such a tricky like line to kind of evolve. And I think the older you get, being able to like, okay, it's not about being liked. Like, what is the objective here? Like, what are we trying to do? And I'm in this role because people believed in me to get this done. And like, we need to get it done. And it's not about us all being friends and hanging out all on the weekend. And maybe, I mean, I don't know, the higher up you get in the career, sometimes you're doing less of the creative stuff and sometimes you're doing less of the like hanging out with the team members. And I'm sure you do a little bit of that, but sometimes it's like, it's okay if I'm not invited to the thing because people behave differently without their boss sometimes. And I'm sure you're very friendly with all of your team, but it is like it's an evolution, I guess, of where you fit on the team and not worrying so much as being liked as respected it's hard to reframe your brain, but
yeah.
So cool. Well, success has probably evolved in many ways since you first started working in your career. How do you feel like what the idea of success look like in your teens and 20s has changed into, and what does it look like now?
Yeah, I think when I was in my 20s and even really like most of my 30s, which I'm still in, I'm 39, I'm about to turn 40. But I think I was such a determined career person, like really early on. And I was just like, I was actually obsessed with like being head of digital at Topshop. That was like always my dream job from when I was kind of at school and, you know, going to college and stuff. And I kind of like worked really hard. I was always the last person in the office. Like I would put my hand up for everything. And I really think it paid off. Like I did loads of internships. I got paid nothing. Like I worked in bars to be able to afford rent to go to the internships and things like that. And I, you know, had like really supportive parents and, you know, they would have kind of helped me out if I was in a pinch, but they were always very like, go make your own money. Like we're not just going to like pay for your rent. And I think that sort of support when needed, but like understanding of making my own money from quite a young age, like really helped me sort of have that determined approach to kind of getting a good job, getting paid, you know, being able to afford to go traveling and like do the fun stuff I wanted to do and also buy loads of clothes, which I did all the time when I was younger and still do today. So yeah, I think it's success, like for me, hasn't really changed that much over the years of like how hardworking I am and how determined I am to just like go from strength to strength in my career. But I think what has changed for me, and like especially the last sort of 3-4 years, is I am focusing a lot more on like work-life balance. And I think that I I've kind of had some not very good relationships in my life and now have a very good one, and I'm married to him now, so that's good. And I really like value the relationship I have with my husband, and I don't want to be like working constantly, which I probably was like when I was a bit in my younger 30s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like the balance has been a bit more important to me in like what does success look like, and it's like not work anymore. It's like friendships and my relationship with my husband and work, and like how can it all fit holistically together.
Totally. I mean, I totally agree. The older I get, especially, I mean, your priorities are changing, but also it's balance. It's like when you were grinding for so long for the first maybe even 15, 20 years of your career. And that's what, like, I totally recommend, like, say yes to everything, get as much experience, do it all. But then you get to a point where like, oh, I have found myself in the mentor space, being in my late 30s rather than the mentee, and like wanting to, or I'm the person just like you, I'm sure, getting asked people want to pick your brain and want advice and career things. And it's like, yeah, I would always encourage to like go and do and try everything. But like now it's balance, and I'm just feel like I'm learning it now. Like, okay, you can say no, or this isn't a right fit, and it's going to make way for something else that is the right thing. And I feel like, especially being a small business owner, you're afraid to say no. So then sometimes it's like, I found myself working all summer, which I'm like, I'm so grateful for this, but I also have to physically take care of myself, or else I'm going to burn out and nobody's getting the best of me, my husband, my friends, family, and things like that. So
Yeah,
only you can kind of answer that, I guess, of what that looks like. And I mean, like, what is your ideal morning routine or like day off now in terms of, I guess, a balanced life?
Yeah, I pretty much every morning, whether it's a weekday or a weekend, will like get up, make a cup of tea, very English, and then sit on my balcony, and my two little cats will come out, sit with me. And I just really love that like 15 minutes of calm where like, I tend to get up pretty early, maybe like 7-ish, and I just have like that 15 minutes to myself to just have a think, like listen to the birds singing. And it's, I'm not like sitting there meditating or anything, but I think it's just like a moment of peace for myself. I find really important as part of my like morning routine. And then, yeah, I kind of, love to go out drink. I love to drink a glass of wine. Actually got really into champagne recently, which is not good for my bank balance, but I love a glass of
Expensive
champagne.
hobby. Expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I like love hanging out with the girls. Like I've made a really good group of like British girls in LA, and I have some sort of friends actually that I've made in New York that have also moved to LA.
Cool.
So I spend a lot of time with my husband, so I really like love the time with the girls as well. So just doing girly stuff like, shopping, like getting nails done, massages. Like I'm just I'm a Taurus, and I think that I feel like I sort of embody a lot of those traits where like I like being really like comfortable, and I wear really like soft clothes, and I really like my surroundings are like really important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can see that with your lovely office. We were talking about that before. And you're like, oh, you have art and beautiful lighting and beautiful plants. And like, you want to like be comfortable and have your surroundings be comfortable. And then I'm sure your output is that much better when you're feeling inspired and comfortable in that way.
Yeah, and I'm obsessed with plants actually. Like I get a bit stressed out if I'm not near plants and trees for a while. So I think that's why I'm just quite an outdoorsy person. I think I'm just so like zoned in when I'm at work and I'm in my office all the time. And then I just want to be outside in the trees.
Yeah.
It's been kind of interesting actually, like moving from New York/London to LA, because I thought I'd hate it, because I was like, oh, it's not a big enough city. Like I'm having to drive. I don't understand it. But it's actually amazing to have kind of mountains and sky and sea right next to me. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Have you ever been to the Self-Realization Fellowship in Malibu?
No.
Oh my gosh, you have got to go. It was one of my favorite places, because you want to drive up to PCH and it's kind of tucked away. But it's, I mean, essentially a meditation garden. There's one in Encinitas too in San Diego, but that was like when I lived in LA, my refuge. Like I mean, it was a trek from where I was living, but it just felt like so peaceful and so green. And I haven't been in so many years. You would love it though. Lots of green.
Yeah,
You can bring some tea and go check it out.
I feel like I'm making myself sound like really like zen and
You
relaxed.
do.
And I'm actually not like that at all.
Well, it's coming off as I was like, wow, I want to do all the outdoor activities and I want to like wear comfy clothes and I want to go get massages and sounds great.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of like that's my dream and like where I'm trying to get to, and I'm sort of halfway there. And
Totally.
actually, my head is like completely hectic and manic all the time, and I'm like running around and drinking too much and going out too much. So I definitely sort of straddle this line of like being a bit kind of mad and crazy all the time, and then also wanting to be like more chill and zen and
Yes.
relaxed. So somewhere in the middle is
I
probably
feel
where
that way. Yeah. You're like, I have two wolves inside of me. There's one that wants to go to bed early and not leave the house and just enjoy. And I mean, some nights and some weeks are different, of course. But I feel like with both of our jobs having to be on so much that it is so nice to like come home and have home be a refuge and you just enjoy your pets and your husband and just chill. But yeah, I have aspirational me and I have realistic me. So I'm like, we're trying to meet them in the middle. But I mean, I think that's manifestation. You're acting as if that person that you're trying to be. But some weeks are easier than others to implement those things.
Yeah, because I feel like you're traveling so much that, well, what my sense of you is that when you are home, like you really love it and you like really love being with your like husband and your dogs and everything else.
Yeah, totally. Well, and just like I said from the beginning, I'm like, I'm creating a life at home that I don't want to run away from. I love the travel. It's so exciting. I love this. It's seemingly a made up job in a way that the way that it is so unexpected and every day. I mean, you can plan as much as you want in both of ours. And then who knows how the event is going to come out. And it's just creative problem solving. But that uses a lot of mental bandwidth to be creative problem solving for 12 hours a day. So then, yeah, I'm like, I want to have a beautiful life that I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to be home. And I think that was definitely like it was something to figure out at the beginning. Cause I mean, even my husband was like scheduling all these things and I was like, you don't need to like feel like you need to. And he's like, I know you're coming back from such an exciting trip. Like, I want to make sure that you're excited in real life too. And I was like, no, I am. It's like feeding different parts of me. And like, we don't need to be going a mile a minute. Like, that's the beauty of it.
Stop booking my
Please.
schedule out.
I'm like, I intentionally didn't make any plans for the next 2 weeks, but yeah, it's ever evolving. And who knows, like beginning of the week self feels differently sometimes between when Thursday and Friday gets around and you're like, I made these plans, but I'm toast now. I want to lay flat and watch Love Island and drink a glass of wine. So, well, on the work front of it, tell us about a time where asking for what you want paid off.
Yeah, so I think asking what you want. I think when I was working in London, and I must have been about, I don't know, like 28, 29 at this point, and I was completely obsessed all through my 20s of moving to New York. And I like kind of grew up watching Sex and the City, and I was like, all I want to do is be Carrie Bradshaw and move to New York.
100%.
And I really, really like manifested that for a long time. And then at that time, I was working at a sort of digital social media agency. And it was kind of like when that was all booming and like Instagram had just launched. And I found this new kind of little PR agency, basically, that was like looking for a kind of head of digital role. And I went for that job because I could see that they had just opened up an office in New York. And so I was like kind of like manifesting this whole little route of like how I would get to New York. And I was so determined to make it happen that it actually did. And it was amazing. So I kind of, started proactively asking like the MD and the MD of New York if I could like come out and like help them pitch for new business. And I did a lot of kind of extra work, I guess, like sell in like my offering and like how we could move the agency more in that direction. And yeah, like started going over to New York, back and forth from London. And I think that's just a good example of where like, if you don't ask, you don't get. And sometimes you have to make up the whole thing yourself and like kind of make it happen. I don't think that stuff like falls into your lap, really. I think you have to really go after it. So yeah.
Ask for what you want. I say it probably every episode.
Yeah,
it's like
100%.
And even if it's not the right thing that you're asking for right now or not, like then you're in the back of somebody's mind of like, oh, I remember this person mentioned that they wanted to do this thing. And so next time there's an opportunity. And it might be better, a lot of times is better than you could have even imagined. Taking the other opportunity that you like hadn't even dreamed that big. But that's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, how long was that process?
Probably like over the course of a year. Yeah. And then, yeah, got over to New York, and then things just sort of fell into place a bit more there because I ended up going kind of client side actually. So I ended up working for Pernod Ricard, who look after like Absolute Vodka and Malibu Rum. And I think something that I learned quite quickly actually from working in the UK to then starting to go over to the US is that you Americans are so much better at self-promotion. And I think in England, you sort of grow up and it's almost like, don't talk about yourself. Like it's almost like seen as quite derogatory to sort of like talk about how great you are. And it's like really unhelpful actually when you're trying to sort of do better in your career. So I think like getting over to the US like really helped me on that front because I learned how to like be better and not feel embarrassed, I guess, of like promoting myself. And, you know, I pushed myself onto loads of like speaking on panels and judging awards and like a lot of the kind of networking stuff, I guess, which, you know, helped my career in those sort of early years in New York. So, yeah, I think that was like quite a big learning for me.
Absolutely. That's interesting, like the cultural difference in that way. Because I mean, I think in general, like Americans we're loud and abrasive in some ways. Like I can see like the general perception. But yeah, I'm glad that was a positive takeaway because that ended up getting me right with it.
And it's something that I always tell like my English friends or like people who are younger, and you know we hire like a lot of interns where I work. So I think it's like such an important piece of like no one's going to give you a job unless you ask for it. And it's like you have to do like a better portfolio than everyone else or something a bit outside the box on your resume. So I think it's like just, you know, I had to learn to like not be embarrassed, to like shout from the rooftops about what I wanted and what I could be and like the value I had to offer, I guess.
Yeah. Because nobody's coming to just like pluck you out like the movies. If you're not like waving your hand, then you can't be upset if an opportunity passes you by.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. Well, very hard-hitting question here. Who's your favorite Spice Girl?
Ooh, that is a good question. I'll have to go with Sporty Spice.
Excellent.
Because I think Mel C was probably the best singer and loved that she just wore Adidas tracksuits all the time.
Yeah. Comfort, see?
Yeah. And then interesting fact, actually, when I was about 12, me and my friends did a dance routine in order to win the chance to perform as the Spice Girls at this like country show in Peterborough, which is where I'm from, which is like a tiny town that no one will know. But yeah, and I was Sporty Spice. And so we got one of our older sisters to like record it on an old like camcorder. And then I like literally jumped out of a tree as Sporty Spice and I was in my Adidas tracksuit. And yeah, we sent our tape in. We didn't win, unfortunately.
Oh, no. There's still time to be in a Spice Girl cover band.
Yeah, thank God that like social media wasn't a thing there, so no one can ever see that video. But yeah,
like we really got off the hook with not having everything recorded. It's like there's a hard copy somewhere, surely, but that's great. Mine was Ginger. I was her for Halloween.
Oh, nice. I can see that working for you, actually.
I love all things like Union Jack. I would still wear the dress. I got to meet her at her book signing in summer, and it was like...
Oh, my God. How was she?
It was such a short and sweet encounter. She was perfect. She was... But, like, I was literally... I'm like, we meet VIPs all the time at work. Like, and this... Like, my 10-year-old self was, like, losing her mind. And my friend was doing PR. A friend I did work with through an actor was doing her PR for the book. And I was like, had got me into this book signing that was sold out at the Grove. And I flew in just to do it. And it was a matter of like, it was such a quick meet and greet. She complimented my red lipstick. I was just like, I was actually like, I was very happy with what I said, because you're like, you don't meet your heroes. And it's never like, what do you say to somebody that you've like just had such an informative effect on your whole childhood and life? And I feel like, because I find that with a lot of like meet and greets with other clients and everything, I'm like, what do you say to somebody who is so, I mean, I watch it all the time of just what people say to their heroes or people or fans. And it's like, I mean, I love you. It feels creepy. I've like loved you for so long. Like you can't really even convey in like the seconds that you have. But I mean, she was lovely.
Sorry, go on.
No.
We should actually just like prepare that so it's like ready just in case we do.
100%. And that's what I'm like before, knowing that I wasn't going to just like meet her at an event, because I have another friend who's like a big time agent and knows all Spice Girls. And the Spice Girls have just been so, like I saw them when I was 16. I saw Jerry had broken up before I saw them, like the month before she had left the group. So then, this is so funny. Many stories of Spice Girls. It's just like so much of my life has been, my husband, like when we first met, he got me I never got the Spice Girl Barbies, and he got me all 2 gingers. So I had both outfits, and they're in like a shadow box above my desk. And I'm like, this is the man I will marry. He gets it.
That is like 5 gold stars to him. That's an amazing present.
I know. So I'm like, just, man, I don't care.
It's
I'm
like light kind of affection for Jerry.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's not something I think about all the time. I don't listen to their music all the time anymore, but it's definitely like probably a song on any of my pump up playlist. It's just, we're all just trying to make our 10-year-old selves happy and proud. So emulate the girl power.
It moves on, does it? I just feel like I'm stuck in that era of like 10 to 17. That's all the music I want to listen to all the time.
Yeah. I think it occurred to me like music from like 10 to maybe 20. I'll always love that music. Like I'm open to new music and I listen to a lot of music, but it's just like, those are going to be my favorite songs. And I'm like, oh, this is like our parents when and they were like, we're like, oh, this old stuff you love. And we're like, now this is the old stuff we love. Damn, life comes at you fast.
Totally. I'm listening to like Hanson and Bob all the time. So it was like one of my first cassette tapes, and I just like love that song.
It just brings you right back.
It really does. But speaking of meeting your heroes, so my hero for like my whole life has been Kate Moss, because I just was obsessed with her. She's like so good. And I actually went to this vintage store called Hidden Treasures. Do you know it? It's like on the way to Topanga.
No.
It's an amazing vintage store in LA, the best one. And I was in there, and it was the day, like last year, it was like the day of the Oscars. And so I was like trying something on in the dressing room, and I thought I heard her voice, and I was like, that's definitely Kate Moss. And same thing, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say to her? So I came out, and then I think I said something like, oh, I've just listened to your podcast on, there's like a BBC podcast called, the one where they do like Castaway with Lauren Laverne. And I can't remember what it's called now. But I just listened to the Kate Moss episode, and she was like, oh, did you like it? And I was like, yeah. And that was the end.
And you're like, there's so much I need to tell you.
I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that, but I'm glad that I said something to her.
Yeah, you had to say something. It was better than her leaving and being like, oh no.
Yeah, I was Desert Island Discs. That's the podcast.
I love it. Did you like it? You're like, nah, I think you could have done better. Like, what are you going to say? Yeah, I loved it, and I love you, and can I kiss your forehead? Is that too much? But
cool.
Oh.
But yeah, that was kind of a crazy bump into celebrity moment, because she was in there, and Kelly Osbourne was in there, and Elijah Wood was in there with his whole family.
What an LA day.
I know. And afterwards I was like, oh, it's the Oscars outside. They're all here.
Oh, it's getting vintage.
Shopping at the same time.
Wow. Well, speaking of your heroes, great transition into, let's talk about your matriarch. Who are we talking about today?
So we're going to talk about my best friend in the whole world, Christina.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, so she's back over in England. No, actually, I'm lying. I think she's in Spain at the moment at a wedding, but she is my like kind of longest friend from England. And
were you friends when you were little girls?
Not super little, actually. She is originally from up north in Newcastle, and she moved down and started coming to my school in Peterborough. when we were like 13, I want to say.
Okay.
So yeah, that's when I first met her. First time I ever met her, she just like walked over to me and just stole one of my crisps. So it was kind of a weird first
Yeah.
moment.
Could have gone either way.
Yeah. But that's just what she was like. She was always really like confident and ballsy, and I kind of loved that about her from like the minute I met her. So yeah, that's who we're talking about today.
I love it. Did you then after the crisp steel
Yeah.
thievery, you just wore thick as thieves ever since?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we were kind of at high school together. She was also on all the sports teams, so we were like on the hockey team and on the netball team, and um, yeah, she was kind of like the cool girl that moved down from Newcastle, and she was like very quickly like the most popular girl in our year at school. Um, and we were in different classes actually, so we weren't like super tight in the beginning, but then we just kind of like got closer and closer, and then uh, by the time we were kind of like 18, 19, we were like pretty much best friends. And then we moved in together in London when we were like, I guess like 23 years old. Yeah, and then we've just been best friends ever since, really.
I love it. What do you admire most about her?
Um, I think she's such a mix of things, and that's kind of what I love about her. Like she's super determined and career driven, like me, I think. Um, and she's also really kind, really sweet, really thoughtful. She's definitely like the head of her household, like definitely who I would think of as a true kind of matriarch. Um, she's a true like feminist. She really believes in like equality and women's rights, and she's also got two children now. So I think that it's been kind of interesting watching her like kind of go through what we were talking about before with like finding that balance in life and kind of being able to like throw yourself into your career, but also kind of have a family as well.
Because she had a child at a young age, right? And that shifted your friendship or made it stronger?
Yeah, so like actually when we were living in London together, she fell pregnant then and ended up kind of moving back to our hometown to kind of have the baby. And then she moved back to London. And so it was kind of, at a time where I think we felt like so young still. And looking back, I think like I have always felt like I didn't really give her enough support, and I wish like now, like being a bit older and more mature, I did a better job of that. But she kind of at least gave off this aura of just like handling it all, and she was such an amazing mum, and she like kind of came back to London like with this baby, and then like went straight back to work, and she would like kind of go to the kind of nursery in the morning, and if no one could help her, she would just carry the whole pram with the baby in it up and down the stairs to get into like the London tube stations. And she was just fiercely like, and still is, just fiercely independent, and kind of just takes everything in her stride. So yeah, it was kind of I think quite a sort of pivotal point for our friendship in a way that it made us like even closer, I think. And then I spent a lot of time with her and her daughter, and we kind of all grew up together in a way. So
your Auntie Jilly.
Yeah, definitely Auntie Jilly. And actually, yeah, her daughter is now like 14, 15, 15.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of nuts that she's like a teenager now. But
You're like, hold on. We're still 20, but you're 15. This doesn't make any sense. Well,
yeah.
I'm sure you gave her all the support that you had the capacity to give. I feel like none of us know how hard it is to be a parent. Now seeing my girlfriends have babies, and like you only support in ways that you know to support. Like, and if you haven't gone through that, you don't really know. And I'm sure just like first-time mothers especially, they don't know. And every pregnancy and child that you're caring for seemingly is totally different human. And so you might need one thing for one pregnancy and one for a different one. But it's like, it's just a perfect storm. I felt that way before, that I'm like, I wish that I was more supportive, and I wish I knew what to do, because I don't want to make you ask for things when you're just like in it and tunnel vision, and women are so amazing. And that's why we have this podcast here. But the things that we just figure out that are just like, I'm sure she had family support, it sounded like, but still, like, you're just like, well, nobody's coming to save me. I'm figuring it out myself.
Yeah, and like she's not with that dad anymore, but they have a really good relationship, and he's very much like in the picture, and like, yeah, for sure, like her family's always been so supportive.
So great.
But yeah, I think like it's interesting now because she's sort of in such a different life stage, and she's now kind of living in a different place outside of London, got an amazing husband who actually I introduced them, so I take credit for that.
Oh yeah, matchmaker.
And then they've got another baby boy together now, James. So yeah, it's sort of like I've just watched her go through all these different life stages, and she's just continued to like grow and flourish, and like whatever the next challenge is, she just takes it in her stride. So she's always just, she's my best friend in the world, and she's just always like such an inspiration to me.
I love it. I don't think I've had anybody talk about their best friend before, because I mean, I think there's the default is like moms or grandmas, I feel like, and there's just so much that we can learn from our soulmate friends and close friendships. And I'm especially because you've been at the similar stages in life, and then when she became a parent, I'm sure then you're just like, our priorities are totally different right now, but you're still so in sync. And that must have been such an evolution of your friendship and just what that looked like.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also like, when I was younger, I was really worried about like, if one day I want to have a baby, is it going to really negatively impact my career? And I'm really worried about that. And I was like, oh, I just probably can't do it because I love my career so much. And I think it's been really helpful actually for me to kind of watch her through her life, and not only like have a child so young that in a way she was like the coolest mum in the room, and I was like, this is great, actually, you did it early, and then you're like the young cool mum that everyone loves, and then it's like you've just thrown yourself right back into the career side of things. And I just have enjoyed seeing that, I guess, especially with someone so close to me, that you kind of like can do both, and it's okay. You don't have to pick one.
Yeah, that's such a great model for like, because seeing somebody so young and so close to you do it, you're like, oh, well, I know her better than anybody else. And she's accomplishing that. Like, there's no way, like, you don't have to choose. If you want to do that, you can do that, because she showed me it was possible.
Yeah.
What do you think was her like biggest dream and goal? And then has she accomplished that, or has it evolved into something else, or how has her career changed, I guess?
Yeah, I would say like when we were more in our 20s, I think her biggest dream or goal would have been the career side of things, and just like landing that big job. And I think that shifted, and probably her priorities, or I guess I think, and we can ask her if we ring her in a bit, but I think her biggest like accomplishment now, she would say her children. And I think that's probably something that shifted in her, that it's like, you can have both for sure, but I think that is like so meaningful, and she's such an amazing mother. So I think that's probably like what she would say is her biggest accomplishment. And, I think that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a song, beauty tip, piece of jewelry that makes you think of her?
There is a song that makes me think of her, which is Stardust. The music sounds better with you. And I just feel like we've just constantly grown up like dancing around kitchens at parties to that track. And we've been to Ibiza together a few times. And yeah, it's just like kind of very much reminds me of her.
Oh, I love it. Well,
she definitely also was like a massive rager, and was always the one like up on the tables dancing at every opportunity.
Cool mom, I love it. We should all be more like that. More time for dancing in kitchens and on tables.
Yeah, exactly. And she's actually going through quite a tough time right now, because she's got breast cancer. So it's, I hate that I'm so far away from her right now. And I did go back to see her a few months ago, and she's like doing well. She's like getting through treatment.
Good.
I think it's just another point in, our friendship and lives together where I just cannot believe like how strong and resilient she is. And she's honestly the only person that would be going through cancer treatment and also has just managed to get a new job as an MD at a charity in London. And I'm just like, this is, and yeah, just such an inspiration.
Is there anything she can't do?
No.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Well, I hope that her treatment ends successfully so soon.
Yeah. I think we're in the last stretch.
Oh, thank goodness. It must be very hard to be so far away from her. Thank goodness for FaceTime.
Yeah, it is really hard being away. And I think that, I do try and go back to the UK as much as possible. And I think she'll come out to LA as soon as she can as well.
Good.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those friendships with her where it doesn't really matter like how far away we are. It just, as soon as you're back together, it just slips into place again.
Just pick up right where you left off.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask if you could say anything to her, what would it be? But maybe we should call her and you should tell her yourself.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see if she picks up.
Love it.
She's at this wedding in Spain, so we'll see if she's...
She's on the dance floor, surely. She's like...
Probably on the dance floor. Drinking the champagne, I expect.
As she should.
Hello?
Hi, babes. It's me.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just getting back to the apartment
Oh, nice.
in Spain.
Great. How is Spain?
It's lovely. It's really good. It's really good. Yeah, it's really nice. The sun's just set, so we've just had a couple of glasses of sangria. It's wonderful.
Lovely. Well, I'm with my friend Courtney on her podcast right now.
Hi.
Hi, Courtney.
Hi. Thanks for picking up the phone. You're an amazing person. I just learned so much about you. And spoiler alert, you're Jilly's matriarch.
Ah, that's so sweet. I wonder what she's been saying. I can't wait to hear all about it.
All wonderful things. My final question is, if you could say anything to your matriarch, what would it be? And so that's why we're calling you, so she can tell you herself.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah, so what I would say to you and what I am going to say to you is you are a badass bitch. And as soon as you get better, we're going to go and party in Ibiza. And I know you're going through a difficult time and I'm finding it hard that I'm not there with you, but you've got this and you'll be fine.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet of you to say. And I have to say, if I'm allowed to say anything back, I have to say, although it's been tough, it's definitely brought me and you closer together. And although, you're, 8,000 miles away, texting you at 6 a.m. every morning and telling you how I am always makes my day. So, yeah, it's been bad, but it's definitely had all of its perks. And one of those perks is definitely you. And those lovely 6 a.m. text messages. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I love you, babes. I'll give you a call later.
Thank you so much. Love you too. Bye,
Thank
Courtney.
you. Goodbye. Great to meet you. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that made me teary.
Oh, I got a bit
It was
emotional.
so sweet. Oh, gosh. Can't wait to see your pics together in Ibiza.
Yeah, I'll send you a pic.
Yeah, I can't wait. Like, you deserve it. Right? Everything's going to go better than expected, quicker than expected, and she's going to be so full of energy, and you're going to be out all night drinking champagne, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, 100%. That's the plan.
I love it. Well, I did want to ask you, you told me a very cool story about your grandma and your grandpa in the spirit of matriarchs. It seems like you have many in your life, but even in the entertainment business, but like, I feel like people would love to hear this story.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy, but I didn't even really find this out about my own family until I was about 15, I think. But so my papa, so my mum's dad, he actually was like a screenwriter. And he worked on some amazing films, like a couple of the Bond movies, so like back in the 60s or so. So he was, kind of adapting from the books to the films. So he did The Spy Who Loved Me and then Moonraker, and then he actually did Oliver as well.
Amazing.
So, yeah, so he kind of had this like amazing job. And my nana was like very much like a real partner to him in that business. So she kind of actually like wrote up everything, and she was sort of his right hand person. And they had this sort of kind of like incredible early career life, and were like flying around the world, and they went to Egypt for a few months to film something. And it's kind of wild to find that out, because I didn't really realize that my nana was like doing that, and he was doing that. And it kind of like made a lot of sense to me, actually, because I was like, oh, I also like work in entertainment, and my job before this in music was very much in film and TV when I met you. So it was really cool to find that out. And like my mum and her auntie as little girls used to go to like Pinewood Studios and like watch all the films being shot and everything. So yeah, I guess it is a bit more in my blood than I knew about. But yeah, I just always thought that was really cool, especially for my nana, like back in that time, to have such a like important role, alongside my papa, like in the film industry, and be traveling around the world together as a couple, like doing all this stuff,
like writing up all the scripts and like checking, I don't know, for accuracy, or just like rewriting things and like putting finishing touches on them. And
yeah, I think that she was a bit more the sort of like operations. I think he was a bit of a kind of mad creative.
Got it.
He like keep it all
keeping
together.
Organized.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, so it's really cool to find that out. And then I think it's the way my mum was like when I was growing up. She, also kind of had jobs, and she was working in banks part-time and things like that, but also had 4 kids to bring up.
Yeah.
But also just very much like doing a million things, and rushing about everywhere, and looking after millions of kids in like childminding groups, and looking after her disabled friend, and cooking and cleaning, and like organizing all the holidays and stuff.
That's
and
a
I think
lot
that
of work.
she just kind of did a lot as a woman that I saw growing up, and I was kind of like, she was very much the sort of like person in charge, I guess. So yeah, maybe I've kind of set me up well with like the women that I've had in my life as well.
Totally. It sounds so full circle, like on both accounts, like it's in your blood. Leadership, entertainment, spearheading a lot of things, leading a lot of people, managing a lot of things. I love it. That's super inspiring. Well, thank you so much for your precious time today. Such a great story. I love learning about all of your matriarchs. And if you want to see more of Jilly, you can go find her on LinkedIn, Jilly Gray. But thank you for coming to the party.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was really fun to speak to you.
It's so fun. We could talk all day about trash TV and all the things to do in LA. And now I have to go watch Love Island. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Remember, if you have the gift of having the ability to call your matriarch, your bestie, your mom, your grandma, your mentor, go and do it. Tell them you love them and ask them about their life, and get out there, make it a great week. Bye.